Chris Young with 80/20 CRM, and we are going to cover permission sets and profiles for users. This is a good admin topic. Salesforce has been changing its design structure of profiles and permission sets. Super exciting, I know, but we want to jump into it because it's just an important part of this world. All right, so if you're on the home page, if you've got admin access, the gear icon here will let you go to setup. And I'm going to jump into profiles and permission sets for users. So you can always, if you're looking for one specifically, you can always type it in search. But we're going to go into users and let's look at a user. And let's also look at the profiles and permission sets you want to apply for 80/20 CRM. Let's start with that. So let's say you want to set up an admin user. I can click their name. And then I can see these permission set groups, always a good place to start. So we have deployed groups to make it a little bit easier for you. So you can see everyone should get this base user group. It's base access to, standard objects, components, or basic objects. And then if you were an administrator, they also want to give them this administrator group. If they're a retail user, you can throw that one on there. Everyone, if you're using 360 SMS, you can give them the 360 SMS group as well. And then you'll see additional acquisitions, dispositions, lead, their manager of any sort managing other people, marketing user bringing in data or helping you with your marketing efforts, and then a transaction coordinator. So you'll notice we've tried to group those in the way that Salesforce has recommended. They say, hey, create an avatar for the roles. What are these people doing? And that's what each of these does. Takes the fields that they need, the buttons that they need, and make sure that they've got access to those, the page layouts, etc. So that's a little bit about the groups. There are a few other permission sets to be familiar with. Let me show those. So if I go into these more standard one-off permission sets, there's actually one called standard object access, which is always great to have. There is usually a group for that one. I guess I just don't have it in this sandbox, so I apologize. I'll make sure to get it in there. There's a couple of others, campaign influence. And by the way, we set up your org. We have all of these profiles and permission sets applied. If you ever have any questions on them, feel free to reach out to us. If you're feeling like something's not there, just let us know. We'll fix it. Campaign influence applies the sales user license permission, and then also gives access to the campaign influence object, which allows opportunities to have multiple campaigns and a different attribution model applied to them. So maybe you didn't care to know that, but it's super useful if you're trying to have proper campaign attribution. All right, moving on from there, there's a few that you'll see in this sandbox, like this DevOps Center. You won't see that. That's just because of the sandbox we're in. If you're using DocuSign, you might see some of those. Are they a user or an admin? Base access, you'll notice these are just individual permission sets. Those groups that we just looked at is a combination of many of these. So you don't need to worry about most of these ones. They're just required so that we can create those groups. But if you do want to give one-off access to, say, skip trace or retail commissions, as an example, you can apply those sets. If you want to see more about them, we can click into that in a minute and I'll show you. Many of you will be using standard Einstein activity capture, which is great. Allows you to connect to your Google Drive, your Google account or your Office 365 account, bring in emails and events. And then if you need to be able to see converted leads, we've delivered that one so that it's just a single permission so that you can see leads that have been converted. I think there's one other that's missing here. It's called allow change user, change owner, I think. And that one allows someone to change the owner on pretty much any record, gives them a little more permissions there. So that's the permission sets to look for. And then profiles, there's only a few that we deliver. There's a system admin profile, and that's by design. Salesforce suggests using a minimum number of profiles. They get really unruly, just as a heads up. Profiles should only manage record types and apps for the most part. Right? So what record types you want them to see, and even record types are starting to get moved to permission sets. So even that is losing some of its value in profiles. What apps do you want them to have access to? And In addition to record types, there's some page layouts. What page layouts do you want them to see? So there's a couple of things there. But the admin usually sees all the record types and has an admin page layout. And then there's residential retail and residential REI. And as we deliver construction and commercial real estate, you'll start seeing additional profiles for construction and for commercial real estate, and then investments coming after that. We have the investment portal, but we're just not delivering that just yet. Okay, and that's syndicating funds. That's a whole nother animal. So that's your 3 profiles: system admin, residential retail, and residential REI. Pretty self-explanatory on what any individual user would get. Are they an REI user or retail, or are they an admin? And of course, if they're REI and they need retail access, give them the REI profile and then give them retail permission sets. And that will start with the minimum that they need and expand from there, which is also a Salesforce best practice. Give them minimum access and grow it. It's easier to give it to them than to take it away is kind of what they, once that you've given it to them through any form, a profile or permission set, you can't take it away actually. So it's always good to start with as little as possible. All right, so that was getting into a user, adding profiles and permission sets. Let's jump into those permission sets, and I'll give you a little bit of detail on those that we've delivered. We're going to go to the Get Real ones. We've added just a GR designation. 80/20 CRM is developed by Get Real. That's where the GR comes from, and the namespace you'll notice. We've tried to put a description on each of them, so if you're curious about what it does, I have no idea, just read that little bit where you can ask us questions. Couple of unique permission sets. There's 2 guest user permission sets. So when you have a portal like this one, for a guest user to see records, see data, they have to be granted access to that data because by default they can't really see anything. So these guest user permission sets get applied to any portal guest users or site guest users so that they can see what they need to see. If you need to clone it, give them additional access, you can. You can't modify these if they're managed, but you can clone them and then edit them from there. Same with profiles. Actually, our profiles aren't managed. We deploy them unmanaged, so you can modify them however you'd like. But the standard ones that come from Salesforce, like the system administrator, is locked down. Let's look at creating a user, because there's a couple of other important fields on a user that you want to see. We have a couple of validation rules that run. So I'm just going to edit this user as an example. So we try and keep it clean: name, alias, email, username, nickname, and then title and company. We require those because they do go on the signature. So this company needs to line up with one of your companies in here. Let me show you real quick. So you've got these company records. Now, as long as this company lines up, it will pull all of that branding from that company, color schemes, logos, etc., for their signature. So useful. And the title will pull in too. The roles, they help you with hierarchy. Now we'll get into roles maybe more in another video, but these help you with like the admins at the very top. You can jump into roles and see that hierarchy. That determines what records they can see. So if I'm at the same level with a peer, then I can't see their records if it's private. If it's public, I can, but anything that's private, I can't see. And I can't see my manager's records, but they can see mine. And so that's where this hierarchy comes into play, making sure the right people can see the right records when they need it. So that's really important to know what role they're in. We set that up front. If you ever have questions about it, let us know. You can't change your own profile, which is good to know, but you can log in. If you're an admin, log into another admin account and change it, but you can change other profiles. There's a few settings here. You'll get used to those. If they're a marketing user, flow user, if they have access to forecasting, what their call center is. You can have multiple call centers in here, which is cool, but a user can only have one. So are they using 360? Are they using dial pad, smartphone, just call, any number of those different call centers, air call. And then the phone number, this is what you want on their signature. So this number should be a number from that call center, because that way everything comes in to the platform and tracks. So that's an important one. If you want to add their mobile number in, that's great to have too. This will show on their profile and they can add it and change that also. If you want to put their business hours in there, you can. And then this individual here This actually ties them to commissions and other payments, and that's more private information. Their mailing address, again, this can also go on the signature. Some of the canned spam stuff is now requiring addresses, as you guys are familiar with. So putting that there is good to have. The business unit. Now, most of them will be residential real estate, but maybe they're in a different business unit. This changes a little bit of what they see elsewhere, what type of needs are available on records. And so you can establish that business unit. It is required because we try and make sure they're seeing the right data with that business unit. And then if you want them to sync company data to their signature, go ahead and check this box, and that will override anything they've put in their profile with that specific company. The social media links and calendar link and address, etc. They can put in their own calendar link though, if they have their own Calendly, or maybe you're using Salesforce Scheduler, then you can use that. Marketing, this is just representing the company that we pulled in, so you don't have to worry about too much about it, but if you want to customize their signature, they can. And then their locale, time zone settings, and then if you have an approver that you want to set up, that's there. After you've created or updated that, another important little bit is being able to change their password or freeze their account or make them inactive. Also, you can do all of that from here. You can't delete a user account, but you can make it inactive or freeze it, and then you can override it with someone else's information if you want to. If it's been deactivated, it no longer uses a license, so it's good from there. Hopefully that helps and knows a little bit of information. There's actually quite a bit more on a user. We won't go into all the detail, but setting up their opportunity team, for example, seeing some of their login history, or they're setting up skills if you want to use call routing. That's all available here. Hope that was helpful. This is permission sets and profiles for users in 80/20 CRM on the Salesforce platform. Talk to you soon.